Hey guys, okay, so now it really makes sense. Now I'm kind of putting it all together, considering all of my study on the different religions and everything, and then learning about Catholicism and original sin, the fall of man, Adam and Eve, all of the different stories of the Bible. And it would make sense that even if we don't know for sure if Eve came from Adam's rib, that meant that that was parthenogenesis at the time. That was actually parthenogenesis. And so when you have parthenogenesis, there was a trigger. And I think what it was is God didn't want Adam to be by himself. And so he allowed Eve to be there. And why didn't God? Because Adam needed to have some kind of company, I guess. And so, but is that really truly the reason why Eve came about? Or is that just a justification of why Eve came into being? Okay, so maybe it's the female species that was the mutation and the males were the original humans on this, not humans, but the original mankind. And then Eve was a partner for Adam, and then Eve was the mutation, and then Eve was the one that then led Adam to the tree of knowledge and then fell prey or fell victim to the parasite, the snake, which then tempted her to go eat the apple. And then she gave Adam the apple. And then that's when they noticed their nudity and they were casted from the Garden of Eden to go be fruitful and multiply. Kevin. Yeah, I mean, that's another way to look at it. I mean, it's not like I'm trying to trigger the feminists. No, I mean, I'm looking at it from both sides of the point of view, you know? I mean, some people are saying that men are the mutation, and then now we're flipping the script. Maybe everything we thought we knew, that maybe straight people are actually the mutations, but not even then. Maybe we were supposed to be LGBT, Q, and then we just happen to be on a different trajectory and a whole different perception. It really is now flipping the whole script. And then I'm seeing like the Catholic Church, and they're bringing back original sin, where that come from. You look at humanity equals slaves equals mutations, because it's not. Mankind and humanity are two different things. Mankind is just mankind. Humanity is the slave population. With the slave population, it comes reproduction, fertility, a very shortened lifespan, herbs and extracts, and all the different immunotherapies, and the herbs and the holistic and the allopathic. That all buys into the slave system. Okay, and so humans equal slaves equal mutations, and that's where original sin probably came from. As soon as they were able to reproduce, that's when sin kept getting sustained, perpetuated. And that's why you have these major holy rollers who think that their kids are sinful because it came from a mutation. It kind of makes sense now why we have such very legalistic, devout people who may have understood originally what humanity was supposed to be, and they were able to then, I don't know, somehow tap into that. And then they're looking at the world as a whole, and they see the debauchery, and then they see where their kid came from. And I'm not, hey, I was raised Jewish, and the Jewish religion, they believe in the death process. They don't believe in Jesus. They don't believe in the whole original sin. And so it seems like the Catholic religion, maybe the Jewish religion, are kind of very similar with some of their belief systems. Okay, so it's quite fascinating when you actually look at where we're headed right now, as far as the jelly juice and this formula to life, and then we are studying and researching the mainstream protocols that are being used to combat cancer, disease, and chronic illness. And they also subscribe to the slave process, which is keeping you sick, which is keeping you at a very low functioning capacity, and it's giving you very small little instant gratifications because your expectations are low. I mean, you're all about trying to beat cancer, but you're not realizing that cancer is one of many, many mutations that your body is enduring, but they are compartmentalizing and focusing on very specific line items that really are not making a difference in the long run when you actually do beat those specific symptoms. Because, let's just take cannabis, for instance. Okay, when you use cannabis to beat cancer, you don't realize that you're taxing your body with more natural killer cells, more antibodies. And then it really contributes to the overall death process. So you really haven't won anything. That's the slave mentality. When you give little prizes to your slaves by saying, hey, we're going to create a problem, and you get to figure out how to overcome and get the solution. And so you feel like you won something when you beat something that you thought was really difficult, when people in your world have died from it. When you have somebody die from breast cancer and then you are all pissed off that the cures are being hidden somewhere, and then you find a cure that seems to be very popular by the people who are anti-government, and then they beat their cancer, you think you won something. That's the slave mentality when you are compartmentalizing your diseases, not realizing they are part of the bigger picture, and it's one of many things. And so humanity equals slaves equals mutations. And so maybe what we need to go back to is the Adam and Eve days, but now we have a lot of people. We have over 7 billion people who could potentially be like an Adam and Eve, but now there's many Adam and Eves. We could all be Adam and Eve. We don't need to multiply anymore because there's enough of us, but we all have to be on the same page to then tap into indefinite life so we don't ever have to die. We don't ever have to procreate if we don't want to, but we also have to get away from the recreational procreation categories. Because as soon as you are trying to conjure up all of your different hormones for whatever reasons and anesthetize yourself and run away from pain, you are on that death trajectory, and then you're going down the original sin trajectory. That totally makes sense. Holy crap. So maybe it was the intention to bring the fall of man in a lot of ways to then create a lot of people to tend to the earth. And now that we're here, now, the earth is now trying to find a balance, and it's cleansing itself. And so now somehow we were all introduced to the formula of life. Some of you are going to get it. Some of you are going to do the protocol and then finally see indefinite life. Others of you are still going to buy into the slave mentality of the cannabis and the pills, powder, supplements, and detoxes and the different religions. And then you will still fall victim to whatever the original sin was way back when. And maybe Jesus was part of the Adam and Eve world. Maybe Jesus was parthenogenic, came from a parthenogenic background. Mary was parthenogenic. Joseph just happened to be around, and they had marriage, but they never had sex. Maybe sex wasn't prevalent, but somehow Jesus came out of, and maybe where Mary and Joseph, they left their parthenogenic world, entered into a world where it was full of debauchery. Jesus came into being not from sex, but from immaculate conception or parthenogenesis. But I don't know who would believe, Mary and Joseph. They said, oh, well, we never had sex. This baby just came to life out of nowhere. But, somehow, maybe they believed him, and it became so. And so it makes sense, because parthenogenesis is totally different than asexual, because asexuality is bringing the body back to a juvenile state and losing all of its knowledge and bringing it back to its juvenile state. What parthenogenesis is able to reproduce without the sperm. The body is able to, I would say, fertilize itself. Okay? So parthenogenesis And immortality is very different than asexuality. Asexuality is like the jellyfish, where you are reverting back to a juvenile state. So your previous body has died, and then it's able to then regenerate again, but it doesn't have the memory of the adult that died. It just goes back to a juvenile state. So it's like regressing, like autism. Parthenogenesis is able to create another body, another being out of your body without utilizing a male to fertilize an egg. It's self-replication. So maybe that is the ultimate. I don't know. I'm just speculating. But it would make sense given of our history and the religion and Jesus and the Catholic religion. Because remember, there is 50% truths out there, and there's 50% falsehoods and propaganda to guide you in a specific direction based upon the intention, which happens to be the death process and the way our whole society is constructed. It's about racing against time. Everything is about racing against the clock. Okay, so when you're racing against the clock, you only have so much time to accomplish things and make a certain amount of money for somebody who has a dynasty that's going to take advantage of all of the people's progress and productivity. Tesla, who else? Edison, all the different inventors back in the 1900s. There are guys today that are making money off their inventions. Wouldn't you want to make money off of your inventions indefinitely? If you have an invention, wouldn't you want to keep reaping the benefits of your invention? Why would you want to give it to somebody else like Elon Musk? All right, I don't see anything special about Elon Musk except that he took on somebody else's work and then expounded upon it based upon today's current situation. There is nothing revolutionary when we're taking somebody else's work and making money off it. Okay, so now we are flipping the script and saying, hey, if you have an invention, there's no reason for you to pass away and give it to somebody else. But that's been the going thing the last however many hundreds of years. We've been dying off every 100 years, and somebody is making money off of our hard work. Maybe it's time we stop that. Maybe it's time we actually stick around so we can see the fruits of our labor. Okay? So this is where you guys need to stay alive indefinitely so you can keep this protocol around so somebody doesn't take it and manipulate it and then do something with it that's nefarious. Okay? So I need all of you guys to stick around and be part of our tribe. The more we have us in numbers, the more we're going to be a force against that old thought process. And maybe this is what is supposed to come out. Maybe this is what the Georgia Guidestones are all about. Maybe this is what the New World Order is all about. Maybe. Maybe it's time to eradicate the division. I mean, when people are saying, oh, the Vatican and the Muslims are coming together and they're creating a whole New World Order and they're tired of extremism. Well, that makes sense. Extremism is not good. Extremism is horrible. When you're extreme, it means that you are fanatical to where you are imbalanced. So I don't see anything wrong with the Vatican and with the Muslims coming together. But when it comes to a death process to where they are killing people and not giving you a choice, well, then, yeah, you as a human or as a mankind, you rise up against the death. But they're giving you guys a choice. But they're using psychological operations, manipulations to make you think that whatever choices that you are making is really for the good of humanity, even though the end result is death. Now you guys know there's a different choice you can make. You don't have to subscribe to the Muslim / Vatican / some other death process outcome. But still, they are against extremism. So if they're going more to a middle ground where there is no death trajectory, I'm all for bringing them all together. I have no problem coexisting. No problem. As long as we're coexisting with a life trajectory. If you're coexisting with a death trajectory, I cannot subscribe to that. So that's all I'm subscribing to is if we're all choosing life, I don't care what religion is merging together. We don't need to have boundaries if we have the same outcome, the same trajectory. It's when you have a death trajectory is where I'm going to be like, hey, see it, you can have your death process over there. I want no part of it. But if you're on a life trajectory and you speak pro-life in the political sense, but yet you're not taking care of your body at the cellular level, then it makes you a hypocrite. So now the actual human body and the formula will keep people accountable for what they say and how it actually manifests in their physical body as well as in what they do with their life. And gone are the people who say, oh yeah, I'm pro-life, but I don't care if my grandma dies. See, that's the difference. Being pro-life is being pro-life across the board, not picking and choosing who lives and who dies. That's the accountability I'm looking for. Okay? And that's huge. So just think about the Bible, the Jilly Juice, all the different players in the biblical world. Understand all the meanings of words. Humanity equals slavery. Mankind is freedom. When you're free of mutations, you are actually free. When you have mutations and you're reproducing, you are actually a slave. It all makes sense. It all makes sense. So just keep thinking, guys. Keep thinking. Talk to you later. Bye.